Herbert's Dune series is set far into mankind's future at a nexus of unique conditions, the mixture of which culminates in an explosion of universal change on a level not seen for some 10,000 years. In this video, I'd like to explore one particular aspect of the Order of the Bene Gesserit, namely the Missionaria Protectiva. Due to the efforts of this black arm of superstition, it can be said that the Sisterhood is largely responsible for facilitating the outbreak of an absolutely devastating religious war, which fundamentally transformed mankind's interstellar Imperium. Spoiler warning if you are unfamiliar with Frank Herbert's Dune series. In the distant future, amidst a feudal galactic empire, the Sisterhood of the Bene Gesserit stands as one of the key social, religious, and political structures of the known universe. Though the full extent of the power they possess remains hidden to outsiders so as not to be considered a threat and endanger their plans for humanity, they wield their considerable influence behind the scenes. To the public, they exist to serve the Imperium as an ancient school of mental and physical training primarily for female students. The abilities that they allow to be made public are invaluable to the nobles of the great houses, and so their women are either sent to Bene Gesserit schools to be trained, or their members are installed as wives or concubines to the nobility. Otherwise, their services are enlisted as needed to assist individuals in positions of power. The Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV has by his side the Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohayim, employing her as a truthsayer, one capable of detecting deceit and the withholding of information. Close to these influential figures, they clandestinely pull the strings of the rich and powerful, manipulating them to serve their own purposes and to direct humanity on a course of their choosing, a path they believe will bring stability and enlightenment. Over thousands of years, this ancient order of women has achieved supreme control of their own bodies, believing it to be the key to controlling the universe. But the training of a Bene Gesserit involves so much more than being able to bend every body part and internal process to their will. Their machinations also extend to the control and manipulation of other individuals, and even entire peoples and cultures. One of the ways they achieve this mass manipulation is through religious engineering. The Missionaria Protectiva is a special faction of the Sisterhood responsible for sowing seeds of prophecy and superstition, planting myths and legends on primitive worlds throughout the known universe so as to be of use, or rather exploited by the Bene Gesserit when needed. When it comes to religion within the Sisterhood, they themselves hold the commandments laid out in the Orange Catholic Bible, one of the most important religious texts in the known universe. It is also referred to as the Accumulated Book, as it is a collection and fusion of elements from all of mankind's major religions, such as Christianity, Catholicism, and Buddhist-Islamic traditions. Its supreme commandment, "Thou shalt not disfigure the soul." Yet another that has also significantly shaped society is "Thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a human mind." They hold to these commands and the structure of their organization, their training program, teaching methods, and rituals are reminiscent of a religious body. Yet in private, the Sisterhood denies that they are such, holding an agnostic view and considering gods to be a product of their own making. Religion is just another tool to aid them in their manipulation of society. The collection of infectious superstitions, prophecies, and legends planted and maintained by the Missionaria Protectiva are known as the Panoplia Propheticus. Which prophecies or superstitions are seeded and used by those of the Sisterhood could vary, depending on how primitive a particular culture is and how much control a Bene Gesserit would need to accomplish her goals. By assuming certain roles within the prophecies themselves, a Bene Gesserit could infiltrate certain organizations or cultures as a short-term option to receive protected status. A fully trained member of the Order is certainly capable of defending herself, so if the safety measures put in place on a certain planet need to be taken advantage of, that in of itself is indicative of how dangerous that particular environment is. The Bene Gesserit's long-term goal is to manufacture a superbeing known as the Kwisatz Haderach, which would then be controlled by the Sisterhood to achieve universal dominance. The implantation of these myths and legends across the universe would ultimately serve as a catalyst to encourage the acceptance of this Messiah by the masses, who would be inclined to see the Kwisatz Haderach as a fulfillment of their religious beliefs. This would limit the amount of resistance by the peoples against the domination of this superbeing. As the story of Dune unfolds on Arrakis, we see just how hostile this planet is, and how the Missionaria Protectiva's implementation of certain religious doctrines seeded centuries earlier can be used to a Bene Gesserit's advantage. After House Atreides arrives on Arrakis, Lady Jessica, Bene Gesserit concubine of Duke Leto Atreides, begins to feel out the current impact of the myth seeding that had previously been done. She is well aware of the danger of the Atreides' new assignment, having been given stewardship over Dune. Her skillful manipulation of the implanted myths on the planet is impressive. She is careful with her choice of words with the local Fremen as she perceives the presence of the Mahdi legend. She wisely knows when to stay silent and lets the Fremen reach their own conclusions regarding signs of fulfilled prophecy, which they wholeheartedly want to believe and see the fulfillment of. Mahdi comes from an Arabic word meaning the guided one or the savior. To the Fremen people, the term equates broadly to the one who will lead us to paradise. In Fremen legend, the Mahdi was believed to be an off-worlder as well as the child of a Bene Gesserit. In the story of Dune, after Paul joins the Fremen and displays his clairvoyant ability and masterful fighting skills, the Fremen tribe members gradually begin to see Paul as their savior, the Mahdi. Another legend that had been seeded by the Missionaria Protectiva that helps to secure their belief in Paul's fulfillment of prophecy was the Lisan al-Gaib, the voice from the outer world, which is the Fremen term for an off-world prophet. Paul's prescient ability serves as evidence to convince the Fremen people that he is this prophet. The Fremen's culture has been heavily imprinted by the Bene Gesserit to the extent that they use many of the same terms. Their spiritual leaders are women who are also referred to as Reverend Mothers, and they even have similar rituals such as the spice agony. Lady Jessica notes just how effective the ancient members of the Missionaria Protectiva were in purveying these myths, thinking she must have been good that Bene Gesserit of the Missionaria Protectiva, these Fremen are beautifully prepared to believe in us. By Jessica and Paul taking advantage of these long since implanted legends, they're able to utilize this religious safety valve of sorts to suit their emergency needs. This helps to secure their protection from the hostile forces of House Harkonnen, which have been bolstered by the Emperor's fearsome Sardaukar. There are, however, major consequences to the exploitation of the Fremen people and the use of the Missionaria Protectiva's religious engineering to secure their family's short-term safety. The ripple effects and large-scale consequences of the deceptive work of the Bene Gesserit continue on and serve as a basis for the story of Frank Herbert's following books. But I'm curious to know, what do you think about the Missionaria Protectiva? Is there a particular aspect of the Sisterhood's work to propagate prophecies and superstitions that stands out the most to you? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more Dune and other sci-fi and fantasy news and lore. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.